Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Co-Parenting with a Toxic Ex: What to Do When Your Ex-Spouse Tries to Turn the Kids Against You, by Amy J. L. Baker, Ph.D., and Paul R. Fine, LCSW. Narrated by Vanessa Daniels. Introduction. Feeling as if you're losing your child to your ex is undoubtedly one of the most difficult experiences you may ever go through as a parent. If this is happening to you, if your child seems to feel and act as if she must love only one parent, your ex, and only one parent, your ex, can love her, you're probably missing your child terribly and mourning the lost opportunities to shape and guide your child and to watch her learn, grow, and develop. Moreover, losing your child to a toxic ex, one who's trying to turn your child against you, usually involves seeing your child become distant, cold, rude, selfish, and entitled, which can be extremely painful. One parent described the experience as like watching a monster eat her child alive, slowly, because no matter how badly your child behaves, she's still your beloved child, whom you cherish and want to protect. And when a child is manipulated to unjustifiably reject one of his parents, he may suffer in the long run in terms of the way he relates to other people, his feelings about himself, and his ability to trust himself and others. Many co-parents in your situation also suffer from being misunderstood and blamed by friends, family members, and others. Perhaps your friends and family members fail to fully understand what you're going through and aren't as supportive as you need them to be. Perhaps they don't understand your ex's insidious influence over your child and the inner conflict your child is experiencing that's causing his bad behavior. Perhaps they think you must have done something for your child to reject you so vehemently, since people often have a need to see the world as a just and rational place in which a child only rejects a parent who deserves it. As a clinician, Paul, and a researcher and coach, Amy, we have found that popular advice to co-parents who seem to be losing a battle for their child's loyalty and respect seems to fall into one of two categories. Take the high road and trust that your child will know which parent really loves him and has his best interests at heart. Be tough on your child. Don't let him get away with being disrespectful or using the divorce to manipulate you. Unfortunately, not only is this kind of advice often unhelpful, but it can sometimes backfire, worsening your child's loyalty conflict or weakening your relationship with your child. It turns out that the best ways to counteract the efforts of an ex who's trying to turn your child against you aren't obvious and may not come naturally to many co-parents. Helping you cope with your child who feels torn between you and your toxic ex is the goal of this book. We want to help you understand the 5 ways in which your ex might draw your child into a loyalty conflict, so that you can recognize them immediately and take appropriate action. We also want to help you understand the psychological impact of your ex's behavior on your child, so that you can be empathetic and sensitive to your child's experience. We believe that positive and mindful parenting will provide you with the tools that you need to help you strengthen your bond with your child. Being mindfully awake to your child, being compassionate in the face of her and your struggle with the divorce, and being self-aware will help you appreciate every moment with your child, as well as prevent unnecessary conflict. The tools throughout the book are designed to help you reduce your ex's negative influence and delay, if not prevent, your child from choosing your ex over you. We wish you the best on your journey of discovery and healing, and we encourage you to keep in your heart and mind that your child needs you, even if she's not always able to remember it or act on that knowledge. A note on language. While we recognize that many listeners may never have been married in the first place or may not have finalized their divorce, for simplicity's sake we use the term divorced throughout this book. In addition, although you may be co-parenting more than one child, we decided to use the phrase your child, singular. Finally, we consider anyone parenting with their ex to be a co-parent. Some writers reserve the term co-parent for the ideal co-parenting relationship, in which parents have a cooperative arrangement and treat each other with respect. Chapter 1. Causes and Consequences of Loyalty Conflicts in Families of Divorce. Divorce isn't easy. The end of a marriage, especially in a family with children, brings a great deal of loss and change. You may have lost the family home, some of your income, some of your friends, and much more. Or you may be at risk of losing many such things you once took for granted. Doubtless one such thing is your spouse's support of your relationship with your child. It can be very painful to realize that your former partner is now working against you in this regard. Not all co-parents try to undermine their ex and steal their child's heart and mind, but too often they do. Yours might. And if that happens, your child may become caught up in a loyalty conflict. What a loyalty conflict is. A loyalty conflict occurs when a person feels that he must choose between two people rather than having a relationship with both of them because of their antagonism toward each other. If your child is experiencing a loyalty conflict involving you and your ex, your child essentially feels as if she's in the middle of a tug of war, with one parent pulling on each arm, trying to bring her over to that side. In this situation, your child may feel as if he has to give up a relationship with you in order to please your ex. This is something to avoid at all costs. Exercise 1.1. Recall your own loyalty conflict. Close your eyes and think back to when you were a child. Picture yourself at roughly the same age as your child is now. Can you think of a time when you experienced a loyalty conflict, either between your parents or between two friends? What did that feel like for you? What did you think and feel as you tried to cope with that? How was the situation resolved? Did you choose one side and relinquish the other? Or did you manage to maintain a relationship with both individuals? How easy or hard was that? Write your reflections in a journal or notebook. If you were able to recall a loyalty conflict that you experienced as a child, you probably had thoughts and feelings that revealed that it's not easy to be in the middle and feel that you have to choose a side. You might have thought, "I'm just a kid. Please don't put me in the middle. This isn't fair. I don't want to choose." That's probably how your child is feeling, and for good reason. The situation is not fair, and it is painful for a number of reasons. How loyalty conflicts harm children. Loyalty conflicts in families of divorce cause stress and worry, create pressure on children to choose a side, cause children to experience confusion about the worth of their parents, and teach children unhealthy ways of relating to people. If your child does choose a side, this can be problematic as well. Stress and worry. When children feel pulled in two different directions by their parents, they know that to please one parent is to hurt or anger the other. There's no way to please both parents at the same time. This can lead children to worry about how they should respond to a variety of situations. Imagine that your child knows that both you and your ex will attend his upcoming performance at school. Will your child be able to focus on preparing for his performance? Will he be able to relax and enjoy himself on stage? Probably not. Instead, he'll be worrying about how to please both you and your ex and dreading what will happen if he somehow slights one of you. When children experience this sort of undue stress, they may develop headaches, stomach aches, tension, lack of energy, and other physical symptoms. They may also experience emotional problems, such as anxiety or depression, and develop behavioral problems such as social withdrawal or disobedience. Pressure to choose a side. When your ex makes disparaging comments about you, impinges on your parenting time, or makes statements that lead your child to believe that she can't love both of her parents, your child may feel pressure to choose your ex and reject you. Children experiencing a loyalty conflict involving their parents are, whether they know it or not, under pressure. They may decide to choose one parent and reject the other simply to end the unpleasant feeling of being pulled in opposite directions. Sometimes this seems like the easiest solution, even though it causes more problems in the long run. Confusion about worth of parents. If your ex is continually putting you down and creating situations in which your child will see the worst in you, your child may come to believe that you're truly unworthy and someone to be rejected and discarded. This can be very confusing to your child, who still needs you and has his own positive experiences of you, which may conflict with the messages that he's receiving. Children need to believe that their parents love them. If your ex puts you down and tries to show your child how unloving you are, this hurts your child, who is likely to think that the reason you're not more loving is because she's somehow not good enough. Blaming themselves is one way that children can feel in control of a difficult situation, even if it leads to bad feelings about themselves. Children also need to believe that their parents are good people. Believing that one of their parents is unworthy or inferior hurts children because they know that a big part of them comes from that parent. They may conclude, if mom/dad is no good, and mom/dad is part of me, I must be no good as well. In this way, to turn a child against one of his parents is to turn a child against himself. It may also be confusing for your child if your ex behaves in a way that suggests that your ex cares more about having his or her own needs met than about your child's need to love and be loved by both parents. It's as if your ex is saying to your child, "When you show me that you love your other parent, I feel hurt and angry," which could lead your child to feel that it's her responsibility to worry about and take care of your ex. This is obviously an unfair burden to place on a child. Choosing a side. When children do give in to the pressure to choose a side, this can lead to problems for them both in the short run and over the course of their lives. For one thing, they have lost a relationship with someone who can provide them with unique and valuable benefits. In other words, no matter which parent wins the loyalty conflict, the child always loses, because to be nearer to one parent is to be farther from the other. Second, they have given up their ability to think for themselves. They have traded in their own thoughts and perceptions for those of the parent with whom they have become aligned. They have adopted that parent's opinions, views, and beliefs. This dependency will ultimately make it hard for them to deal with peer pressure, make their own career choices, and become self-sufficient adults. Third, if a child eventually realizes that he was wrong to choose one parent over the other, he may suffer from guilt, low self-esteem, and depression later in life. Adults who as children rejected one of their parents in response to a loyalty conflict may say things like, "I'm a terrible person for doing that to my father, and when I think about what I did to my mother, I feel so sad I can't get out of bed in the morning." Unhealthy relationship styles. If your child is caught up in a loyalty conflict involving you and your ex, she may, with your ex's encouragement, disrespect you and become insensitive to your feelings, which could result in her behaving in an entitled, ungrateful, and uncaring manner. These behaviors and attitudes towards you can spill over into her relationships with other people. In this way, your ex is warping your child's social and moral compass and molding your child to hold beliefs and attitudes that will serve her poorly later in life, with friends, at school, and on the job. Exercise 1.2. Which symptoms of a loyalty conflict do you see in your child? Please decide how frequently your child exhibits the behaviors and attitudes described since the divorce. Keep in mind that some of these symptoms could be due to other stressors. If you're co-parenting more than one child, you may want to complete this exercise separately for each child. You can download additional copies of the exercise at http://www.newharbinger.com/29583. Never that I'm aware of? Sometimes. Often. My child seems anxious, seems depressed, or complains of physical symptoms such as headaches, stomach aches, or fatigue. My child seems to have self-esteem issues and doubts about whether he or she is truly loved by both me and my ex. My child seems confused about the value and worth of me or my ex. Differentiating bad-mouthing your ex from helping your child. It can sometimes be difficult for co-parents to know the difference between behaviors that may be helpful to their children and those that may create loyalty conflicts. If your child feels disappointment, anger, or hurt toward your ex, you may worry that if you validate these feelings or comfort your child, you'll be guilty of creating a loyalty conflict. Of course, it's important to be empathetic with a hurt or disappointed child. Just be mindful of how and why you respond. Don't deny or minimize your child's feelings and perceptions. At the same time, be careful that you don't make him feel worse than he already does by getting caught up in putting down your ex or making yourself look good by comparison. If you add your own interpretation of events or fan the flames of your child's discontent, then you're pulling him into a loyalty conflict. We'll talk more about unintentionally inducing a loyalty conflict later in this chapter. Why co-parents behave in the ways that draw children into loyalty conflicts. Why would anyone want to induce a loyalty conflict in a child when it seems so mean? The truth is that for many co-parents, feeling as though they're the favored parent helps reduce feelings of jealousy, fear, guilt, shame, sadness, loneliness, anger, or narcissistic injury. Let's examine these feelings, because when you understand the feelings that may lead your ex to try to turn your child against you, you may be able to address them and thus reduce his or her need to feel like the favored parent. Jealousy. Your ex may feel jealous of how close you and your child seem. Rather than taking pleasure and comfort in knowing that the child you share is fortunate enough to have a loving relationship with you, your ex may worry that something is lacking in his own relationship with your child. At a time when friends are choosing sides and family members typically ally with their own family, there might be a heightened sense of insecurity that is causing your ex to feel anxious when he sees the positive relationship you have with your child. Your ex may also feel jealous of your parenting time. Every minute that your child is with you is a minute that she's not with your ex, and he may feel that loss sharply. Your ex may miss greeting your child in the afternoon as she comes home from school or tucking her into bed at night. Perhaps your child recently had a first, took her first steps, said her first word, had her first sleepover, saw her first movie, and your ex wasn't there to experience the joy and have a memory of the milestone to cherish forever. Co-parents have every reason to feel jealous of each other's parenting time. When you were married, both you and your ex may have craved me time to read a book, take a nap, or just sit peacefully and think. Taking care of children is so time-consuming that most parents feel some desire for downtime. But nothing can really prepare full-time parents, if your ex was one, for the feelings associated with the transition to seeing their children only on designated parenting days. Even if your ex only saw your child at dinner time most days you were married, he may still feel a sense of loss at not seeing your child as much as he used to. It's also natural for your ex to feel jealous if you have more money to lavish on your child, more friends and family members to help with child care, or a more flexible job that allows you to spend more time with your child. Money, friends, and free time are not necessarily evenly distributed following a divorce, and to your ex, you may appear to have it easy. If you have recently entered a romantic relationship, this may also spark feelings of jealousy, as may the perception that you're recovering from the pain of the divorce more quickly. Feelings of jealousy are natural in divorce situations. It's how you deal with them that can make a difference in terms of pulling your child into a loyalty conflict. Fear. There are many reasons why a newly divorced parent may be fearful. Parents have a strong desire to protect their children, and after divorce it may be unnerving to relinquish the control derived from seeing their children every day. Many go from feeling separation pangs to worrying that their children will change or be harmed while they're away. Most likely, you and your ex have differences of opinion about parenting, with one of you being more lenient, one of you being more health conscious, one of you being more traditional, one of you being more academically oriented, and so on. It's nearly impossible for two parents to agree on every aspect of parenting. When you were married, your ex may have been able to have more influence concerning matters on which you disagree than she does now. Truth be told, you're probably less likely to accommodate her wishes now that the two of you are no longer married. And it's possible that your differences regarding parenting have become magnified since the divorce, as each of you struggles with the loss of control that comes with having your child spend significant periods of time away. For some co-parents, this experience of loss of control evolves into an irrational fear that the other parent will somehow harm the child. These co-parents try to pull the child away from the other parent in order to rescue the child from imaginary dangers. Your ex may even be afraid that your child will be injured in your care, or the danger may be that your child will stop loving her. Another source of fear is financial. Some co-parents are afraid of having to contend with a diminished income after the divorce, and in response they may seek to preserve their finances by having more time with the children. and hence paying less in child support or receiving more. Guilt. Co-parents may suffer from guilt over the breakup of the marriage, knowing that divorce can be traumatic for children. There are other reasons to feel guilty as well, including being less attentive to the children or less patient than usual while preoccupied with legal and other divorce-related matters. All parents have moments of preoccupation or self-absorption that can result in self-recrimination later, e.g., why couldn't I just put my magazine down and watch my child while he was playing in the sandbox? After divorce, parents may even be more distracted by concerns about finances, loneliness, change, and so forth. Let's say that your ex has difficulty focusing when reading your child a bedtime story. Later, when he thinks back to how his mind wandered, he may chide himself for not being more attentive. Other co-parents feel guilty for having fun when their children are away. They wonder, what kind of parent am I that I barely think about my kids when they're not around? Such feelings of guilt can lead your ex to want to reassure himself that your child still loves him. If he can make your child prove her love by choosing him over you, then he may feel reassured that he's not such a bad parent. Shame. Some co-parents experience shame, not just over the end of the marriage, but over any way that they feel they're lacking as a parent. And we are all lacking in some way or another. Your ex may feel embarrassed when your child approaches you first after a school play or soccer game. She may feel ashamed when your child asks to call you or see you during her parenting time. If your child talks about you enthusiastically or expresses longing for you, it might cause your ex to wonder whether there's something lacking in her as a parent. Like guilt, shame can lead your ex to encourage your child to show favoritism toward her, to reassure her that she's not that bad of a parent. She might create situations in which it's likely that your child will feel pressured to show favoritism as a way to make herself feel better about the ways in which she has fallen short. Sadness. Your ex is likely to feel sad about not having the pleasure of his child's company on a daily basis. Again, every moment that your child is with you is a moment she's not with your ex. Parents who are separated from their children, for whatever reason, miss them and want to be with them. This is true even during planned separations, such as sleepaway camp or sleepovers. Most parents worry that they're missing out on the things their children do when they're not there, and most likely your ex is no exception. To not be with your child every day and to miss out on watching her grow and develop represents a big loss for your ex. As a way to cope, your ex might encourage your child to reassure him that she loves him best of all and will never leave him. If he can convince your child to prefer him over you, then he doesn't have to deal with the sadness and loss of being separated from her, as well as his uncertainties, which have been magnified by the divorce. Loneliness. If your ex is used to being with your child every day, then your child's absence from the home may be very painful for her. Separation from your child may make your ex feel lonely and make her want to pressure your child to spend more time with her. For someone used to having a child in the home every day, waking up to an empty house can be very disconcerting. Assuming that your custody arrangement involves your child staying with you some nights, there will be days when your ex doesn't get to receive a warm hug from your child at night and hear the joyful sound of footsteps and giggles the next morning. When you were married, it probably would have sounded like a fantastic vacation to your ex to wake up to a quiet house and have a day to herself. But if your child's absence is imposed, as opposed to chosen, then it can feel terribly lonely. Some co-parents are more able to cultivate a life separate from their relationship and role with respect to their children. But for those whose identity is wrapped up in being a parent, the loss of their children, even only part of the time, may be extremely painful. If your ex was a stay-at-home parent whose main responsibilities revolved around childcare, not having a child to focus on can affect her sense of purpose and self-worth. She might try to ward off the loneliness by encouraging your child to spend as much time with her as possible, to pay attention to only her when the three of you are together, at transition times, school events, and so on, and to generally prefer her over you. Anger. There's a lot to be angry about after a divorce. Your ex may be angry at himself or at you for precipitating the end of the marriage and letting the family down. He may be angry at the system for imposing a disagreeable parenting plan on him. He may be angry at you for having a better relationship with your child than he does, or for doing things that he perceives to be wrong or hurtful to your child. When people are angry, they don't always think things through as carefully as they should. Your ex's anger may be preventing him from controlling his baser impulses, such as to compete with you for your child's affection. Furthermore, your ex may deliberately set out to punish you for real or imagined misdeeds, and one guaranteed way to hurt you is to limit your time with and interfere in your relationship with your child. For some co-parents, the anger they feel is not just an impetus for rash actions, things done and said in the heat of the moment. Instead, it fuels a malicious plan to steal their children away from the other parent. Narcissistic injury. Some people experience the loss of a relationship, e.g., divorce, as a personal affront and can't tolerate the resulting threat to their sense of self. The typical response of people who suffer such a narcissistic injury, as it's called, is to devalue the other person in order to preserve their sense of self. For example, if your ex's ego was bruised during the divorce, she may come to view you as worthless in order to not feel badly about the end of the marriage. In a case of sour grapes, she may convince herself that she has no idea what she ever saw in you in the first place and that she's glad that the relationship is over. If your ex fails to find any redeeming value in you, it becomes difficult for her to understand why anyone else, such as your child, would want or need to have a relationship with you either. Such co-parents find it hard to separate their negative feelings about their ex from their beliefs about their ex's value as a parent. Exercise 1.3. Which of these emotions do you see in your ex? Your ex, and you, may be dealing with many strong emotions in response to the divorce. If your ex often acts on any of these feelings and desires by creating situations that compel your child to choose your ex over you, you're co-parenting with a toxic ex and are at risk of losing your child. Please indicate how frequently you sense that your ex is experiencing the following emotions. Never, sometimes, often. Jealousy, fear, guilt, shame, sadness, loneliness, anger, narcissistic injury. We want to be clear that while some co-parents purposefully induce loyalty conflicts out of a desire to punish their exes, for example, others induce loyalty conflicts unintentionally because they have gotten caught up in feelings of fear, loneliness, and the like, which create a distorted need to protect or control their children. Sometimes it's hard to tell whether a co-parent is intentionally inducing a loyalty conflict or not, and this doesn't really matter as far as what you can do to make a positive difference. In other words, the advice we give you would be the same in either case. Potentially triggering situations. With all of these feelings swirling around, there are times when co-parents are especially likely to behave in ways that draw their children into loyalty conflicts. Transition times. Any time that you, your child, and your ex are in the same place is ripe for your ex to create a loyalty conflict in your child. This is especially true when your child is transitioning from one home to the other. That is, as your ex is either preparing to say goodbye to your child or greeting him after a separation. Feelings of loss and all the other emotions we've described may be heightened preceding and following a separation. Furthermore, perhaps your ex has unresolved feelings toward you, such as feelings of love, hurt, sadness, or anger, over real or perceived misdeeds. Perhaps there's a new spouse or partner in the mix, adding to the level of tension and discomfort. In this hotbed of emotion, it's possible that your ex will, intentionally or otherwise, induce a loyalty conflict in your child. In some families of divorce, the parenting plan requires that transitions take place in the presence of both parents, allowing your ex to see just how close you are with your child, which may spark feelings of jealousy, and providing him with an opportunity to shape your child's perception of you through his words, attitudes, and actions toward you. Perhaps you have noticed your ex turn cold toward your child at these times, leading her to focus on pleasing him while disregarding your feelings. For example, if you're
Sample complete. Ready to continue?